Hey everybody, how's it? Aloha, this is Geebz. Good afternoon. This is the Decomposer Lounge, and this is a Patreon pick. This is when my Patreon members, they pick songs, and I'll go ahead and break them down there, let them marinate there, and then release it on the main channel. This is from somebody who has been here. There's a super handful of people that have been here since my very first reaction. Adam, thank you so much, not only for your suggestion, but always hanging out. I really appreciate it. Also, always looking forward to your comments, and even if I'm not on the road, I see you pop up, I try to give you a how's it. So this is from my Patreon member, Adam. This song is called, I'm going to get this wrong. The band is SOLSTAFIR, and the name of the song is Nattmal or something. Long song, guys. So I'm going to let it glide before I do my first stop. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's just do this. We're getting right into it. SOLSTAFIR Nattmal. All right. Okay, this is so cool. This is, that opening minute of these really cool washed guitars. When I say the term washed guitars, obviously holding long notes, excuse me, an oversaturation of reverb. And the unique challenge to that is not overwashing it. Like you could put a long, like let's say a 3-4 second cathedral or church kind of reverb on the back, but if you put enough pre-delay on that, so that's the amount of time between the signal triggering the reverb and it comes out, you still don't take away from the performance of the guitar. It doesn't get washed out from the beginning. And that whole thing, it kind of had movie score vibe for me. Like this would be a very unique approach in a film of obviously a director requiring or saying, hey, I want something completely experimental, cool, and different. That's a great sound. It sounds like I obviously don't know what the vocals are, and you know how I am. I don't listen to lyrics anyhow, but that makes it easier if it's in another language. Very heart pulling melody that's going on there, and even as that opening, as it kind of lightened up just a little bit for the vocals, it still continued that delivery of these long, heavy-handed, emotional kind of chords that are being, or the chords that they're playing, and the sounds of the guitars. Then as it starts to kind of catch up and we start getting a little speed out of it, we start hearing the drums coming in. I was listening at first, I'm going, where am I hearing a snare? Is it pulled way back in the mix and stuff? And it sounds like he's more with his cymbals and his tom that he's using to keep it going and stuff. And then they, of course, now they've kicked us into another gear tempo-wise. And just as I stopped, there's a snare, as I felt it was going to come sooner or later. But this whole opening is very emotional and it's very pulling, the way they have it. And also noticing that the guitars, there's obviously, well, I don't know if there's 2 guitar players in the band or what, but there's obviously 2 guitars in the recording where you do have a hard left, hard right, but one of them is more principal in the melody and the other one is definitely picking up the slack on this side, but it is separately played, so it's not a complete perfect unison. There's some notes that are being played on this side that are adding to the voicing of the melody that's happening on this side, and I really dig it. Even the tone of the guitars, this is very different, and it seems very theatrical in the way they've decided to perform it. So, all right, let me move back a little bit so we can get into those drums and keep going. This whole section here, once again, I can feel, I don't know what the lyrics are, but it's emotional. I don't know if it's painful. It sounds painful. It sounds dark. This guy's performance is so authentic to me, and what I mean by that is sometimes you can just feel when a performance is all, cycling around technique, the highest notes you can hit, the lowest notes you can hit, the vibratos or the harmonies and stuff. You can tell that sometimes, singers are working their capabilities through their techniques. And then comes the blooming of vocalists that will use their instrument for the sole purpose of expression. It just so happens that they can sing that expression and you can feel it. And we all know that we all have our favorite vocalists that can do that. That you may not say, well, it's not the greatest vocalist in the world, like let's say, a super trained opera singer, but really gets that emotion through. And something else before I get back. I love the bass tone on this. I've been on a bass run lately, so I'm really focusing on the bass tone. As you can tell, right? That thing that I released yesterday with me doing that bass overdub on that dissection session that I did. And so I've been spending a little more time listening to the bass, and I love, there's a very warm bottom overdriven sound to this bass here. And even though the bass is staying really close to what I would call a unison composition, which means on to the chord changes it's on, and there's not a lot of moving around and turnarounds that are happening thus far. That tone is so rich, and it's so well placed in the mix, and that's one of the magic things about engineering, is crafting pockets for each individual instrument, number one, and then making sure there isn't tone battles that are going on. That's why the unique relationship between the kick drum and the bass. The engineers are always keeping their ears on any kind of tone conflict. So sometimes you'll see a little spike in maybe 2500K on a bass or something, or on a kick they might pop the top a little bit just to set it a difference a little bit. But this bass tone is just wonderful. And I love the drumming too. The drumming is very, very humanized, if you know what I'm saying. Sometimes it feels like it slowed down just a scoosh and came just, I'm not saying wobbling from the tempo, but you could feel the shift in the performance that sometimes might give you the illusion that it slowed down a little bit, but really it's still in time. But it and that's what I'm really enjoying about this performance. So let me go back just a little bit. Let's keep going. Okay, I know we're about to zoom into another section here. It really feels like it now. It sounds like there's a viola. Well, violin. Yeah, I can get that low. But that you hear, the fast tremolo playing, how cool is that? Now, it is very possible that that was being played throughout the whole song and pulled back in the mix, and then it got pushed up during this particular instance, for this part of the layering. Then again, it might be just an only one time when people are saying, "Hey, listen, why don't we get somebody in here to do this just in this section?" I love that. Something else I want to say really quick too is why this kind of makes me feel like just a more gritty version of kind of a Pink Floyd style kind of composition. And the only reason why I say that is you hear that Hammond or a B3 in the background, that organ sound and stuff, very reminiscent to my soundtrack of life, okay? So when I say those things, it's only because of the scope of music that I've listened to in my life that it goes, wow, that kind of reminds me of what I used to really just glow on when I was like, in the 60s and the 70s and stuff. Go, whoa, man, that was that kind of. So I just wanted to draw that inference really quick. It's just my own personal take on it, obviously. Yeah, but thought I'd share that with you. Okay, let's go see where they're going now. It looks like it's going to get fast. What a great way to end that track. First of all, the track in of itself, I found myself kind of drifting in my own journey, which is what music does for us, right? I started thinking, I forgot for a second what I was doing here. And because when music, for all of us, whatever it is we decide to listen to, when music is done in a way that appeals to us, that's what it causes. It evokes the theater of the mind. It evokes a lift in the spirit or a change in the attitude or the energy or something, and it becomes the soundtrack to your pictures in your head, you know, whatever those thoughts are. Anyhow, I loved how it ended like that, because I was about to say, how am I going to talk about the growling of the organ? So when we heard the organ early on in the mix, be it a Hammond or a B3 or something like that, it was more of a subtle accompaniment. But on this last section, they threw it really hot in the mix, and listen to the growliness of that. That's one of the signature sounds of organs in those days and playings, or the Hammond, the B3 playing and stuff, that growly organ thing that we hear that a lot of times doesn't get a lot of tribute paid to it for supporting the power of crunch guitars, because you think, oh, it's a keyboard, right? You know, man, was that powerful in the 60s, the 70s, and still to this day. And this, I think 2014 it says this album was released. And that's what I love about this too. And something else that was like, at first I was like, I didn't know if I was comfortable with it, but when that snare came in this last passage, where it was, you know, that snare that he was doing, it kind of felt like it was slightly behind the pocket. So the very first 2 or 3 times I heard that, I was like, and then as soon as I let go of composer brain, and I just was going to go ahead and just soak into it, I went, oh, I feel it, okay. Because, you know, I can't help but listen to it in a particular way that sometimes I have to make a cognitive decision to, you know, oh, shut up, just relax. And go, oh, okay, I get it, I feel it, you know? And everything about this performance was just, I felt everything about this performance. Even the finger noise and the sliding on the strings between the frets and stuff like that, that to me is like, you know, I've used this before in other terms. You look at a picture or a painting and you can say, hey, nice digi art and it's really beautiful, but then you look at a painting that's hand painted, and you can appreciate brush strokes that are all perfect and brush strokes that may not be that perfect, but it created, you know, a bitch in shadow or something like that. And it's part of the whole thing. Anyhow, this was really long, but, you know, so well worth it. Adam, once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All the members on Patreon, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for, you know, constantly sending me videos to do. And, you know, I do them here on Patreon and then releasing them on my main channel. And I appreciate you guys for giving me that space and room to do that as well, so that everybody can enjoy it as well. All right, guys, take care of yourself. I got more fun stuff coming at you. Aloha. All right.